We have some very exciting things to talk to you about this year, and I know she shared some beautiful things with you already. And one of the things that we're going to be doing this year is what's called our Facade Grant Program. It is our Commercial Beautification Facade Grant Program. I'm going to get into some of the details of what that is all about, what it is, why are we doing it, what are the benefits, who qualify, what's eligible. All of those type things, as well as the time frame. But before I get into the details, I want you to keep in mind two dates: January 15th and February 14th. Why the 15th? Because that is the official kickoff, the launch of this program. 1 week from today, it will go live on our website. It will have the promotional and marketing flyer, for example, that will have that important date or dates and some initial information. But it will have the application, which will have all of the details about some of the things I'm going to cover this morning. It will have the criteria in terms of how this application will be judged, or what it will be based on, and I'll go through some of that here in just a moment. And then, of course, it will have some frequently asked questions, questions that you might have this morning, some of those things that will be answered and provided to you up front so that you have more information going into the overall process. So that is what we're going to cover this morning. Of course, I will take any questions at the end that you might have as we move forward. So what is this grant program, or this facade program? What is it? Well, the program is a tool or mechanism. It is an incentive that provides support to property owners, business tenants, by providing incentives or funding for the exterior improvements of the property itself. Who is eligible? All of our property owners and businesses within the city of East Point. What areas does it cover? Well, it's citywide. It covers downtown, which is where we are right now, and there's a boundary for downtown, but it also covers all 4 wards: Ward A, B, C, and D. So it will be citywide that would have access and be able to participate in this initiative based on, again, property owners, business tenants. So that means, there has to be a concerted effort by both parties to engage in this. Now, some of the details that this is going to actually involve, the overall time frame will run from January to September. It gives you a chance to not only apply, but also to do all of the preliminary work that would go into this overall process in terms of getting all of the permits approved, for example. And then, of course, making that initial expenditure of getting the actual project underway. So the overall arching purpose. Some might ask, why is the city doing this? Why are they doing it now? Well, it's very simple. Back in 2021, the city was part of what was called the American Rescue Plan Act. That's where federal funding was provided to states, counties, cities, to help them get over the COVID experience that we experienced in many of our lives for the very, very first time. A pandemic that caused everything to shut down, businesses closed, jobs were lost, revenue took a dive. And so all of these things happen at the same time across our nation, and in many cases across the world. So a lot of funding, revenue were lost, and so the federal government stepped in to make sure that everything didn't just shut completely down. Even though we experienced some of that, everything just didn't stop and nothing happened. There had to be things to continue. So East Point was part of that initiative. We got funding, and that funding allowed the city to provide critical services, purchase equipment, machinery, merchandise, uniforms. It allowed the city to maintain critical infrastructure repairs and enhancements that needed to take place in order to keep the city running. And so as a result of that, we spent a lot of money, but guess what? We didn't spend it all. So the city leadership decided, hey, we have some additional funds that we need to exhaust by the end of this year, or at least have obligated. And so with that, $600,000 were obligated for facade improvements citywide. And with that, with respect to that, then $600,000 were now allocated after the vote was taken. That means that we have 2 years in which to spend the money completely that has been allocated. But we're not waiting for 2 years. We are getting this done within the next 9 months or so of this year, because there are some things that are taking place that are coming up that will be opportunities for the city of East Point to take advantage of. So this funding is going to provide those opportunities. And what does that mean for the business or property owner that takes advantage of it? Well, it's very simple. It's going to improve property values, number one, because you're making these enhancements. It's going to enhance community pride overall, not just from the citizens, but for anyone that's visiting the city itself. And then, of course, it's going to drive foot traffic and increase or enhance revenue streams for those businesses. And so this will be available to all commercial property owners and businesses within the city of East Point, covering those wards that those areas that I just spoke of. And so a couple of other things. Who is in fact eligible in terms of the type of things that you can do? So let's just say you're a commercial business. What can you do for these enhancements? Everything is going to be exterior. Okay, so you can do everything from painting your building to pressure washing your building, changing out windows, enhancing or repairing signage, doing a lot of trimming. You can improve and recoat and redo your whole parking lot with the restriping and all that kind of stuff. You can beautify those things that are going to enhance landscape-wise, for example, city lights or street lights, your sidewalks, everything that is happening on the outside that's going to be visible from a distance. Okay, so those things that are going to, again, strike appeal, that's going to draw you in, that's going to make you want to go visit and check it out. Those are the type eligible things that you can do based on this funding. Some things that you can't do, well, you can't do anything that's going to be on the inside because you won't be able to see it from the outside if you're passing by. So you ask, how do I apply? Well, starting this past Monday of this week, we launched a soft announcement. That soft announcement actually involved this meeting. This being our first meeting of the new year downtown meeting that we have every month, first Wednesday of each month at the same time frame. We decided to make this part of that meeting so that we're getting the word out. This is a solid week before, again, we go live with this initiative. So with this, we have our first community outreach, letting you know this is what's coming. And we want everyone to apply as much as possible. So we're going to be doing a number of these type sessions that will not only take place right here where you're sitting, but it's going to take place in each of the wards. And we are verifying where those locations will be, the timing that they will take place, and of course the specific wards, because it's going to be happening again in each ward on a certain day at a certain time and a certain location. That will be spelled out, so stay tuned. All right, so the website is going to have, again, critical information that's going to give you a lot more detail versus the things that you're hearing today. So what does that mean for you in terms of applying and perhaps becoming an awardee? So we will have the criteria that will tell you exactly how these applications will be scored. The city is going to pony up 75% of that $10,000, meaning that the city is going to pay $7,500 for that improvement. The business owner or the business tenant will pay what? The remaining 25%, $2,500. The minimum is $3,000, and the max amount would be $70,000 because we know that there will be plazas involved, and this work isn't cheap. Okay, so the city is taking the lead by doing, three-quarters or covering three-quarters of that cost, and the business owner, the property owner, will cover the 25%. It's going to be based on a pay-as-you-go type of scenario, meaning that you're going to initiate those cost expenditures. You're going to go out and start the process. And once you get to a point, maybe you've done phase one of it, and you want to now get reimbursed, you would provide then the receipts. And of course, those receipts have to be directly related to that project. Can't be anything external to it. So everything will be based on your application in terms of how you go about detailing that information. How do you stay updated with this whole process once we actually get the Go Live launch next week? Well, you stay in tune and updated by going to the website, coming by City Hall, sending any questions or making any phone calls that you might have to our department, as well as the city manager's department. And of course, any questions that you might have as follow-up to not only this meeting, but follow-up to the launching of the information itself. So there's a lot of excitement. And again, once it gets started, you will have a full 6 months basically to get it done. But let's just say you're running a little bit tight on time and you just cannot get it done or completed by that time. You would be able to get a 60-day, 2-month extension on that particular project. So this is all a part of that overriding effort. We want to lift pride. We want to raise appreciation. We want to enhance property values. But keep in mind again, the start date, go live date is January 15th, 1 week from today. And the deadline will be February 14th. So we want you to get that information in